When you're looking for offers, like, base salary is not everything. There's so much more to it. There's a 401k match. Do they offer a 401k? How long does it take for it to come into effect? What is that called? That period where sometimes it's like 30 days or 6 months where your benefits don't kick in until then? All of that matters. Because what if you don't have medical benefits for 60 days and you're in a car crash? What else? Gym benefits. Sometimes companies pay for your class pass. They give you credits. Other companies offer gym pass, which is like class pass, but better. I could get into it more, but there's that. If you go to the gym every day, do they have a gym on site? If you have to go into the office, do they have rideshare benefits? What else? I think that's really it. I feel like healthcare benefits are pretty standard across a lot of companies. In the last 4 years, I've been at 3 different companies. And it could just be because I've stayed in the same industry, but the healthcare benefits, like vision, dental, medical, they've all been pretty similar. Honestly, that is one thing that I really wish that I had guidance on when I graduated from college. I didn't know how to compare different offers. I didn't know how to negotiate. I didn't know how to look at benefits. That's not something that I was taught in college. Maybe they changed that now, but what I did was I took the first offer I can get. That's all I did. I didn't look at anything. I just accepted on the spot. And then 3 months in, I realized that I was underpaid by $15,000. It was bad. And I tried to get market pay. I really did my best to, again, I didn't have any guidance on how to approach this. My parents couldn't help me because they've never gone through something like this. My parents were the type of that wouldn't stay anywhere. Once you're at where you're at, that's where you stay. My dad was at a company for like, no empieces. My dad was at his company for like as long as old as I was, maybe like 20 years, and then he left. These cats are testing me. 20 years and then he left. My mom, she has some of the same bosses from around the same time too, 20 years plus. Like, they don't know. They're from a different time. It's different. So I had no one to vent to or to get guidance on for this specific situation. And so what I did, I waited for the time that my performance review came in, which, mind you, I realized 3 months into the job that I was underpaid by $15K. And then I waited for my 1 year mark for my performance review. They do it like that, where it's like 1 year. Or you know what? No, I was just hired into around the performance review cycle. So my 1 year was within that same cycle. And I got my performance review, and, I got their feedback, my manager's feedback. And I don't feel like I came at him wrong or anything. I tried to be as professional as possible. And He gave me his feedback, like my areas for improvement, what I did right, what I did wrong, regular performance review, nothing crazy. And so I said, thank you for your feedback. I'll definitely, take that into account going forward. Now I'd like to discuss my compensation. And he just let me speak. He let me speak. I was like, oh, currently I'm at X a year. But based on my market research, I'm finding that people with my similar experience and background, which this was my first job out of college. It was. But throughout college, I did accounting throughout my college career. So I had some professional background, and yeah, I kind of told him like, hey, even for entry level in this county and in the neighbor county, people are making X amount and I'm lower. I'm hoping that we could reconcile that gap and get me to at least market. That's when he spoke. He said, this isn't really the time and place to discuss compensation. I don't think he wanted to have that conversation. He obviously did not want to have the conversation. But the reason I waited so long was because literally in the employee handbook, it said that these compensation and market adjustments or whatever are done at the performance review. And I told him, when he said that this isn't the time and place, I was like, the employee handbook I don't know how, but I even memorized the page. I memorized the page of the handbook. I was like, in the employee handbook on page X, it says that, these performance reviews are where we can discuss market adjustments and, whatever, annual percent increases, whatever. And then he goes, oh, and then he looked at my data, my market research, and he goes, oh, well, some of these aren't even local. They're different per city, per market, whatever. And I don't remember what I said. I did I was kind of disappointed when he said that this wasn't the time and place, because I felt trust with him. Like, I don't know. The conversation took a real turn once we started talking money. And, we basically ended it with, you know what, we'll just let me see what I can do. He said something along those lines. And everything was fine. And I think a few days later, within that same week, ya están peleando. Shh! Cállese! Oh my fucking God. I'm gonna start spraying all of them. Within that same week, ya están peleando. Shh! Cállese! Oh my fucking God. I'm gonna start spraying all of them. Within that same week, he came over to my cube and he was like, hey, can we go for a walk? That was something that we did a lot. And he didn't invite anyone else. He just said me. And I was like, oh, okay, we're going to probably talk about that. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And we went for a walk. And it turns out that he went to the CFO. He was like, oh, I wanted to see what I can do. This is not. He's like, the best I can do is increase 5K. Mind you, I was under 15. And I was like, oh, thanks. Thank you so much for making the effort to go to the CFO and, increase my salary. He did something. You have to, I gave him credit for doing something. Another manager could have been like, no, well, you accepted this offer, and so that's what we're going to give you. There's nothing in the budget. It could have been dry and simple like that, but, he did make the effort. I'll always appreciate that. But the other market research that I had, and I did not mention because, you never show all of your cards. I don't even play poker, but you never show your cards, right? The other market research that I had was I was already applying to other companies. And once he told me that, I already had an idea of what the other companies what time is it? I already have an idea. I have 30 minutes left of my lunch. But I had an idea of what other companies were offering because I was interviewing. And through that interview process, you ask them hey, what's your budget for this role? That's the best market research ever. And don't get me wrong, I don't say do it all the time, because I don't want you to waste a company's time either if you don't really see yourself accepting another offer. Do it when you're dead serious. Do it when you're dead serious, where you're like, you know what, I'm on the line right now. I could take off at any second. Don't just do it to play with other, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I had an idea of what other companies were offering based on the places that I was interviewing at. And I already had some verbal offers given to me around that time. I don't know how I planned this out so strategically where this was all happening around the same time. I don't know how I did it. I feel like I obsessed over this. Like, it really bothered me that I was getting paid under, and it bothered me because like I was already feeling very intimidated, because I found myself being the only girl and then the only Latina in a lot of places in that company. And so I was already feeling overwhelmed about that fact. And then to find out that I'm also being underpaid, that I don't even know how to describe that feeling, but I feel like I became obsessive over that. And I strategically lined up the interviews and the offers and whatever. And so as soon as he told me that the best thing that he could do, the most that he could do was 5K, that was my green light. Like, you know what, it's time. It's time, let's go. Next chapter. You know, no hard feelings. Like, that job was a stepping stone into like the world that I wanted to get into, you know. They were awesome in the sense that they gave me the job before I graduated. I was, when I interviewed with them, I was getting ready for finals, and they knew that. On my resume, I put my start date on the education section. I put my, oh my God, I never turned off my coffee maker. Yeah. In the interview that I gave them, I put under the education section, I put my start year, and then in the end year, I just put TBD. You know, expected like that year, you know. So they knew I was a student, and they were so awesome that they let me work part-time until I graduated. And then right after the day after graduating, they made me full-time. Like, I've never heard of a company that will do that. So, you know, I am eternally grateful for that company and for that manager and everything. But it was just time for me to go, you know. And I'm not going to cry. I don't know why I sounded like that. But yeah, I said thank you. I didn't say anything. But then, you know, that night I called the other companies that I had been, you know, talking to. And that's a whole nother story. Oh, that's a whole nother story. I ended up saying yes to one company, and then another company came through. And so then I went back and I said, it's a whole thing. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think the week right after I got this raise at my first company, I went to my boss and I scheduled another 15-minute meeting, and I had a printed out resignation. I told him, you know, like, thank you so much, but yeah, like, my last day is in 2 weeks. Yeah, it was really awkward. I had no one to teach me about this stuff. No one. I had never quit before. Oh no, I'm lying. The way I quit my accounting job was so bad. It was so bad. But I don't think it was bad at the same time, because me and the owners, like, we were cool. Like, we were homies. So it was very like, oh, I'm gone. All right, cool. And we still kept in touch. I still, like, to this day, like, I still talk to one of my coworkers from there. So it was very different. It didn't feel professional, because we became friends versus this place. This place was my first professional place. And I tried to be as formal as possible. I went on YouTube and I saw like what other people were doing. Let me center myself. I tried to see what other people were doing, and I looked at recommendations. Honestly, thank you guys, like the professional community. Like, you guys have been my mentors throughout my college career. Like, from someone who had no guidance, YouTube was my mentor. Like, you YouTube creators, like, my God. Forever thankful to you guys. Yeah, I gave my resignation, and then he scheduled another meeting with everybody, with the whole team, to tell everyone that I was gone. And I kind of told them, like, hey, like, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, please feel free to connect. You know, it felt very awkward. I don't know, it felt awkward. now that I think of it, that was the only resignation that I had where I still worked in the office with people who knew I was leaving. Because after that, all my other resignations, they were, working from home. So I never had to face anyone. So I think that's why I felt like it was weird. But I never told them where I was going. I don't know where I saw that it was a thing where you don't tell people where you're going to go. And so I think it's dumb. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, I got my offer. And all to say that I ended up leaving and I got a 25K increase in my salary. 25. And, at that time, being the year that it was and being entry level, that was actually a lot for me. That was a lot. That was life-changing for me. I was still living at home, so that made a difference to my family. That helped my family in so many ways. Put it this way, my parents combined had never seen that amount of money. And I'm super low income. I grew up below the poverty line. Yeah, I grew up very low income. So for us, it was a big deal. And, the way that we saw it was like my money was our money. So we thought like, wow, like that's amazing. That's incredible. And to backtrack a little, when I got my first offer at this first company, I remember my dad being so proud of me because of what they offered to me. Little did we know that I was underpaid. I was below market, and we were so impressed by the salary. We were so impressed because, just to give you a little more perspective, that salary that I was below market, that was more than what my parents made combined. And yeah, I guess it all worked out for me. And I think in the end, what I learned is that when you're in college, try to get a lot of guidance on how to negotiate and how to look at an offer as a whole. The base salary is not everything. Trust me, it is not. It is not. Negotiate, but know your worth. Know your worth. Don't just negotiate for like shits and giggles. Don't negotiate just to see how much like they're willing to go, how far they're willing to go, because they could rescind their offer. But know what you're worth and, base your offer on that. And I know it's hard, but try not to take the first offer that you get. And if you do, just make sure it's a fair offer. And what else? I don't know. Coming from someone who had no guidance, I really hope that this helps someone out there. Again, I'm a first generation American from two Latino Hispanic parents. My dad came from Mexico. My mom came from Guatemala. I didn't speak English until I started going to school because my parents didn't speak English, so I had nowhere to learn it. Even though I was born here, that's crazy to me. Highest level of education, my dad, he said that he did like 2 years of high school, 1.5 in Mexico. My mom didn't finish middle school. Yeah, so all of this was a new world to me. I went through it alone. Like even through college, like the applications, the FAFSA, all of that, they couldn't help me. They didn't know how to help me. I'm not blaming them for anything, but they didn't know how to help me. They've never gone through this, so they kind of like, they did check on me and make sure that I knew what I was doing, like, made sure that I was asking the right questions, and I figured it out. Thankfully, there was programs at my university who really helped people like me out, like first generation people, minorities. There's specific kind of programs out there that helped me a lot. So I did get some guidance. I shouldn't say that I didn't. I did get some guidance. The way I see it is that if you really want something, you'll find a way. Like the whole negotiating with my boss. Like I went on YouTube. I didn't have anyone to talk to, so I went on YouTube. And make connections. Meet people. If you're in college, try to like Make connections with people who are already experienced in your industry. Maybe they can become your mentors. Maybe they can guide you, even though you don't have like relatives that have gone through this. Maybe you'll just meet people who can mentor you throughout it. That's something that I should have done more of. I did make connections, but I was just too embarrassed to talk about money. That was a big, like, that was a huge no. I mean, in my family always, like, I remember I was a curious girl when I was little, and I would ask my parents, like, oh, how much do you guys make? My mom would be like, the fuck? Like, why do you want to know? Like, who's asking? You know, like, it was just a very touchy subject. I wish you the best. And even though a lot of this may be new to you, it's new to your culture, new to, like, period, new to you at all, you can figure it out. You can figure it out. And I know it's uncomfortable to ask people for guidance on things like this, but I mean, how else are you going to grow? You know, we can't keep going through the same cycles as our parents. Like, imagine if I would have stayed with that company 20 years, the one that was underpaying me, like my dad stayed at his company 20 years. Imagine. I know this is a whole nother topic, but I recommend looking into different companies every 2 years, you know, because it's not likely. Okay, how do I say this? In this economy right now, inflation is skyrocketing, right? But your wage isn't going to skyrocket. Every year they're going to give you like that annual raise, like that 3 to 5% or whatever, 3 to 10%. I don't know what the standard is, but they're never going to match the rate of inflation. They're never going to match it. And as inflation goes up, I'm sure that market rates are going to go up. Don't you ever trust that your company is going to increase your salary every time that the market rate increases. That's just not realistic. I would love for someone to name me a company that does that without you even asking. They'll say, hey, you know what? We did a market research and we found that your market rate is actually $50,000 more than what we're paying you. So we're going to increase your salary. There probably is a company out there that does that. Don't get me wrong. There probably is, but I don't know. So yeah, try to look into leaving your company every 2 years, unless they're giving you a really good path for promotions, a path for development. Of course, money isn't everything. Don't get me wrong. Money isn't everything. If they're investing in like your career and in your future, if they're paying for your education, they're willing to pay for your education, or they help you come up with a plan to develop your career within that company, that's also valuable. That's not something that you can monetize, you know, like you have to weigh everything. It's so complicated. It is so complicated. Yeah. Yeah. I hope this helps you out. Again, good luck. I could talk about this all day, I swear. Good luck. And you got this. You got this. Don't be afraid to talk money. Don't be afraid to speak up. But speak up and stay calm. Don't be like me. Like, I start getting nervous and I stutter and then I raise my voice, but I don't mean to raise my voice. That's just the Guatemalan in me. Yeah, you got this.